Now let's talk about this flashing really quick. This flashing, I went ahead and saved it, and I spent quite a bit of time prepping it. It was kind of rusty. It had I don't know, some remnants of mold on it, rust on it, and all kinds of stuff. And after I prepped it, I put the wire brushes to it, and that was why I put 2 coats of primer on here, was so that everything else will stick to this. My roofing material will stick to this. My paint that I'm going to put on here is going to stick to it. You might think, hey, Joe, why didn't you just go and buy some new stuff? Well, I guess I could have. First off, I wasn't sure where to get this flashing. I could have spent some time and effort investigating that and getting it, locating it somewhere in town, coming back out here and cutting it and getting it ready. But then even at that point, this would have been galvanized. It would have been kind of greasy. I would have had to have cleaned that with some vinegar and water solution and then etched it a little bit so that I could put the primer on, and I'd still have to drill holes in it, you know, like the holes that were in here before. This gives me an idea of how far apart the holes were. I'm gonna re-drill out the holes and make them a little bit bigger. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna save this, and I'm gonna put it back in there. I know it's gonna fit, and I don't want anything else that doesn't match this existing, because if the other stuff doesn't have a little return lip on it like that, it's not going to match, and it's not going to be as strong as this, or it's just not going to look right. I wanted everything to match up, because right here at the stairs, when you come walking up the stairs, you're going to see those 2 pieces there, and you're going to see these 2 pieces over here. So I wanted them to be fairly close to looking the same, you know, with the same little return here, the same height on them, and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I spent a little bit of extra time getting my flashings ready, and that's why I decided not to buy any new. But hey, you beat the judge. If your stuff is really super old and it's all rusty and it's falling apart and it's got all kinds of stuff on it, and you don't want to take the time and effort to make it right, take a little piece of it with you, drive around. Most hardware stores and home stores probably won't have this flashing. You may have to go to a roofing company to find it. You may have to go to a place that carries stucco, like a place that sells commercial drywall. They might have flashings like this, or probably like a roofing, I'd say a roofing company who sells shingles and flashings and that kind of stuff. Or ask around. If they don't have it, just say, hey, do you know who would have it, and go from there. So I'm like, okay, where do I start? What do I do first? Well, you know, working strategically and in order is something that you want to think about too. And before I start opening up all this paint and the stucco material for patching and that kind of stuff, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix up the rest of my Durham's rock hard water putty, and I'm going to put that in all the different areas where I think it needs, because in some of those places I'm going to need to put a second coat on, and I just want to go ahead and do all that stuff. That way that stuff can be drying in case I decide, if I have enough time to paint today, I'll finish my primer, and I've got to put 2 coats of that rock hard water putty here, at least 2 coats. Before I prime that, I want to put 2 coats of primer on there, and then I'll probably want to put some primer. I'll probably stick some primer on that flashing maybe, and I'll just have to see, is there any other little areas I want to put primer. I'll probably put some primer along here after I finish that. And the other thing I noticed too was there's a couple different areas on the floor I got all the screws, so I thought, but see here's one that I missed right there, and then I noticed right here there was a couple more that I missed. Boom, boom. I'm gonna go ahead and put my rock hard on that too. Here's a couple more spots in here. Now granted, this is underneath this other material that I'm going to fold back, but since I have it going, I'll go ahead and cover those. You know, here's a couple other spots. There's a spot around here that looks a little depressed, and I'll fill that up, fill these up here, and I'll look around the corner. I think I was going to put a little bit here. Maybe I can do something there and kind of make that corner rounded off slightly or something. And then I've got to skin that one and patch some more different places and anywhere where I think I need it. So I'm going to start working on that, and then once I get done with that, I'll mix up my paints and figure out that kind of stuff. I'll figure out where I need to put my caulking on the inside corners and stuff, and I'll do all of that before I work on anything else. Then even before I start painting, I'm pretty confident that I know what color I need to have for that, and I'm pretty sure it's over there with all those paints. But before I paint this, I'm going to re-drill out all these holes, make them bigger too. Okay? Because those holes, this is going to go right along there, and those are the holes where when the water comes down off of this floor over to there, that's how they're going to weep out, is through all these holes. So I need to make sure that those holes are drilled out properly. I even have to remember that I've got to clean these out. There's holes here too on this side. I almost completely forgot about that, and they're filled up with caulking and stuff. Somebody drilled the holes and then they covered them up. So I've got to do that too. Okay, so work in phases. One, how do you eat an elephant? That's right, one bite at a time. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got this great big feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh. Hey, remember I said I was going to drill those holes? See there? I drilled them bigger all the way along there. And now they're down low enough for it. If any water gets on there, it's going to go out underneath the tiles. But remember, I've got the floor sloping from here, going down this way, and then tapering down this way to go over to here. So chances are there's not much water going to go down that way. But I went ahead and did it anyways. I did the same thing to the piece of flashing that I'm going to put up there and the piece that I'm putting up over there. And this piece of flashing, I'm getting ready to put this piece of flashing on here, but this was the area that was the worst bit of the dry rot and everything, and it was all loose, and I'm not quite sure exactly where it goes. I put a pencil mark where I thought it went, right to there, and this one I'm pretty sure gets pushed right up to the stucco edge right there. But you know, once I mount this, if I'm slightly off and if I need to go out a little bit further, I won't be able to do it, will I? Or maybe I put it at that mark and there's a big huge gap between the flashing and the last tile. You know, maybe there'll be a gap bigger than that. I don't want a gap bigger than that. Then I'd have to bend the flashing in and stuff, and I could probably make it work, but you know, I don't really want to do that, and I don't want to make it too tight, because maybe instead of right there, maybe it needs to be moved out flush to the outside corner or something.